The Bible tells of monstrous destruction of several places by burning sulfur. This includes Sodom and Gomorrah. According to the Bible, this happened about 4,000 years ago. For many scholars, the biblical reports are of course nothing but fairy tales. And what about people who think the Bible is God's word? Is this horror story to be taken literally or just symbolically? After about 4,000 years, it is not easy to correctly assign the original names Zeboim, Admah, Gomorrah, Sodom and Zoar to the destroyed areas. Ron Wyatt from the USA intensively investigated the areas around 1990. He came to the conviction that the destroyed places, which can still be seen today, fit very well to the statements of the Bible. In Genesis 10:19 it is noted that the city stood within a borderline. In 1975 countless clay tablets were found in Ebla in Syria. On one of the clay tablets, the 5 cities are mentioned in the identical order found in the Bible. On this tablet, King Birsha of Gomorrah is also mentioned as in the Bible. If Abraham had pitched his tents south of Hebron, perhaps near today's Arad, he could actually have seen the smoke of the burning city of Sodom. Archaeological finds of clay pots for the storage of olive oil show that about 4,000 years ago there must have been plantations and large cities in which is now a very dry region. Tens of thousands of people lived in the destroyed cities. This is proved by the dimensions of the places and the huge burial grounds that were found. Those who book a guided trip to Israel will not be able to avoid a visit to Masada in the south. The plateau of the very distinctive Table Mountain lies 400 meters above the Dead Sea. From all sides there are at least 100-meter high steep cliffs. After the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the last Jewish fighters tried to defy the Roman army in vain. If you drive to the station where the aerial cableway takes you up to Masada, the bright formations on the left and on the right of the road attract your attention. Travel guides often give incorrect explanations, as my own experiences show. The bright formations of all kinds are no longer rocks, but ashes of burnt limestones. These formations cannot have been formed naturally, but were once huge walls, temple-like structures, and sphinx as well as dwellings for many people. On today's map, Zoar is reached by a dirt road from Road 90 south of the Dead Sea. The first picture shows Zoar immediately after sunset. Right at the entrance of Zoar, there are remains of a peculiar sacrificial or cult site with an altar. But it's all just ashes. Pictures with a drone convey unbelievable impressions. 3 very obvious sculptures are particularly striking in Zoar. If you take a closer look at these 3 ash formations, the nearby darker limestone is immediately noticeable. These sculptures or sphinxes were huge man-made structures. Just 10 meters away from these sculptures, normal limestone to be found. The road from the Dead Sea to Arad is visible in the background, and from this road the first picture was taken. The lighter parts of the picture are ashes and not buildings or structures made of stone. The rest of the film shows mountains of ash of once unbelievable magnificent buildings. Of course, erosion has worked destructively on the ash mountains over the past 4,000 years. Two further pictures show ash formations, one with natural rock in the background and the second one within the foreground. As you leave Zoar, Jordan appears in the evening sun in the background. For people who consider God and miracles to be non-existent, an explanation of this precise apocalyptic destruction is of course difficult. For them, what they think cannot happen simply will not happen. Scientific publications and film contributions justify the cause of the destruction with the most abstruse explanations. In order to recognize this as absurd, one does not have to be a scientist, but only honest. For example, they give the impact of a meteorite as the cause. Such a meteorite leaves behind a crater, and you would certainly not find any outlines of buildings, walls, and sculptures. In Petra, Jordan, you can still find wonderful buildings hewn in rock walls. Certain ruins in today's Wadi Avia at the southern end of the Dead Sea and in other places suggest that the destroyed sites in the rock walls might have looked similar to Petra. For science, it is also clear that it could not have been the normal burning of a wood fire. If you look honestly, there is only one possible explanation for the catastrophe. These cities made of stones have been burned by incredible heat, otherwise stones will not burn. The lighter structures, even if they are huge, are no longer stones but ashes. If you take your time and wander around for hours in the ash ruins of Sodom, etc., you will find very interesting structures. These are so striking in the ash landscape that they really stand out. Despite strong withering, the outlines can still be recognized as figures of gods, temples, and even sphinxes after 4,000 years. Anyone who has already seen Sphinx in Egypt and other places in the world, and who looks at the ruins of Sodom, etc., can not avoid recognizing similarities. This ash sphinx is located in Gomorrah, just south of the valley station that ascends to Masada. The Gizeh Sphinx in Egypt is still in good condition. The ash landscapes are so huge that Zeboim, Adma, Gomorrah, Sodom and Zoar must have been home to tens of thousands of people. A discovered cemetery alone had an estimated 500,000 people. In the south of the Dead Sea, a drone can easily fly over an area of several square kilometers of ash mountains. Long-drawn structures are clearly recognizable as walls, often as double walls, as was customary at that time. There are two reasons why the structures can still be seen so clearly today. Firstly, the weather must have changed dramatically. Today there is very little rainfall. Secondly, the structure of limestone burnt with sulfur remains fairly well preserved. As already mentioned, tour guides explain the existence of this whitish landscape in different ways. Probably only few point out that these are not rocks but ash structures. Certainly formations of these ash structures are particularly striking. The stone must have literally swirled because such structures cannot be found in normal sediments. In Sodom you can also walk through narrow gorges between mountains of ash. However, this is not harmless because a part of the very fragile ash wall can break off at any time. Here you can see the ashes running down when it rains. It is similar to gypsum. The extremely fragile structure shows that it is ash and not a special rock structure. The ash can be broken away with bare hands. Directly above the Sodom company is an almost white ash mountain. The small stones on it are interesting. The pressure of the stones prevents the ashes from being washed away. Strange mushrooms develop. On Mount Sodom, there must have been a spectacular sphinx or even a temple-like building. It is interesting to note that this monument also consists of almost white ash, as my wife's hands show. Even today, you can still find pure lumps of sulfur, which, by the way, do not occur anywhere else in the world. However, they have become very rare, since thousands of Israelis and tourists search the whole ash landscapes for them. If burning sulfur comes together in large quantities with limestone, the enormous heat of more than 3,000 degrees Celsius burns the limestone, and exactly this ash remains, which one finds after 4,000 years. Several institutes have investigated the ashes of Sodom, etc. All confirm that the ash is either calcium sulfate or calcium carbonate. Pure sulfur is intensely yellow. The sulfur lumps of Gomorrah are rather whitish. If sulfur is heated strongly without burning, it turns whitish yellow. Pure sulfur left is difficult to ignite. That from Gomorrah, etc. has about 1% magnesium and burns much more easily. The stones on the sulfur lumps do not burn, however. In another experiment, a lot of sulfur is burned. Small limestones in the middle of the flames do not burn even after a long time. The stones simply don't become hot enough. If pure sulfur powder is allowed to fall into the flames, it burns with an intense blue color. If sulfur powder mixed with limestone powder is allowed to fall into the flame, the limestone burns, which can be seen from the orange-colored flame. Inside, to burn limestone, you would need intensive flames for a long time. Of course, the question still arises, why are there any lumps of sulfur at all in Sodom, etc., when supposedly everything was burnt? Answer: if at the end of the inferno further lumps of sulfur fell from the sky into the ashes, they did not burn. Christian circles question the cause of the destruction as well, but anyone who carefully studies the Bible statements and takes a close look at the places of destructions comes to this conclusion that the Bible may be taken literally. But of course it remains unclear to everyone from where God took the millions of tons of pure lumps of sulfur, dropping them incredibly precisely onto the man-made buildings. We have no explanation for this. From the point of view of science, one would at least expect it to take the facts on the ground seriously, but it does not. Otherwise, one would not find the most implausible explanations and suggestions of places where hardly any of the Bible statements apply. There are several foreign sources that confirm the statements of the Bible. For example, the famous Jewish historian Flavius Josephus or the clay tablet of Ebla from Syria. With God, there is a point at which he intervenes. This is reached when hedonism, sexual perversions, fearful idolatry, Satanism, even human sacrifices prevail. In Western cultures, we fulfill all the conditions for this. Jesus said that people who had heard him and seen his miracles and still not changed their lives would be worse off than the people of Sodom. Where will you spend eternity? That is life's real question. Whoever seriously asks Jesus for forgiveness will experience his full pardon and be taken into the family of God.